Hey y'all, welcome to Boundaries and Grace. Hey y'all, I'm Taylor Chandler, licensed marriage and family therapist and personal development coach, helping people who want two things: to be the best person and to have the best relationship. It's a two in one with me. Y'all, we're in phase two where I'm doing what I promised, rolling out models to help you work on yourself. I did an episode on the model library so far. If you haven't seen it, I'll link it. But I left out a crucial model I want to tell you about. Honestly, I think that might be best because this one is so big, so simple, and so important. It helps to highlight an issue that creates massive problems in self development and relationship health. It's the perception reality model. And I'm going to take this airtime to go over the SER framework as well. We're going to revisit that. And I want to show you how it holds all of the models that I've introduced to you so far and will going forward. The 9 I've shared so far can be downloaded in the link in my description. Models for Self and Relational Development. That's the name of the episode. Models for Self and Relational Development, a living document that will be updated as I update you. Let's dive in. This is the PR model. This is a visual metaphor. There's always a balance going on between perception and reality. You've heard the saying that perception is reality. That's true in the sense that what you perceive, you think is real, so you treat your perspective as real. Perspective being, give you a definition, like your vantage point, your interpretation of reality. But perception is reality is not true in the sense that what you perceive is not always real. Your interpretation of reality, your perspective, your vantage point, the view from inside of your shoes is not the same thing as reality itself. Your perspective is very important, but it is not to be confused with the truth or pure reality. This is the issue with my truth. People think their personal perspective or personal preferences are just as important or just as valid as any other truth. And that is simply not true and even dangerous. Like, think about how this plays out politically. This is the so this is an important philosophical point. Well, let's go back to the visual. When the balance between perception and reality is about equal, meaning what you think you're seeing is what you are really seeing. Another way of saying it, what you think you're seeing is what is really there. Okay. When the balance between perception and reality is about equal, and I say about, you guys, I have to be specific. When I say about equal, I mean it. I don't think it's ever totally equal because we can't remove our perspective entirely. And we need to be able to admit that. Okay. Those of you that are like me who are really about the truth, we have to be able to acknowledge that we cannot remove ourselves from our own shoes. Although there are some people who are definitely better at taking a more objective view, a more objective stance than others. We cannot help but to no, we cannot help but to be ourselves with our experiences, our biases, our filters. But some of us are better at taking a more objective viewpoint than others. I think that we also need to acknowledge that there are some blind spots that we all have where we're not seeing, where we are not objective. Okay, these things are called rhetorical concessions. All right, a rhetorical concession is essentially conceding. It's saying, okay, I admit you have a point. I can't be totally objective, but what I can do is intentionally try to take a more objective view. That's a rhetorical concession. It makes you a more trustworthy person. It makes you a better arguer, makes your argument stronger when you can admit reality. So I'll say all of this again. When the balance between perception and reality is about equal, what you think you're seeing is what's really going on. Okay. When perception and reality are out of balance, what you think you're seeing outweighs what is really going on, or your perception outweighs pure reality. The more out of balance this scale is, the more chaotic conversations get, which turns into conflict. Okay, it turns into conflict or turns into like total disconnection, where you say, like, I can't even do this. This model is important because it grounds us in the importance of taking higher perspective, expanding our perspective to include viewpoints that are not our own. When it comes to relationships, the only way to have real empathy for the other person, y'all, this is required for understanding, and we need to understand that. Men, let's make this note, y'all. There are some gendered issues that I want to make sure to highlight, although I am really big on um, I'm really big on asserting that these are human problems, but we do have some gendered ways that these problems show up, or gendered ways that we need to approach this problem. Men, especially, I think, in general, need to get comfortable with the word empathy. It's normally seen as a soft word, and understandably so. Being empathetic is a soft skill. Okay, but men need to become empathetic and need empathetic partners, or men need to refine their empathetic skill set, and they need empathetic partners in order to successfully be understood. In other words, if being understood is important to you, then you need to have empathy yourself, be empathetic yourself, and you'll also need an empathetic partner. So men need to become empathetic, refine their empathetic skills, and need empathetic partners in order to successfully be understood, leveled with, and to be considered as much as you want to be considered, to feel satisfied in the relationship. Now, if none of that is important to you, then you can throw empathy away. I'm probably not the right coach for you. But if being understood is important to you, then we really need to understand empathy. I say all of that knowing women. Okay, gendered issue here. I say all of that knowing women also need to learn to be more empathetic. Really do it, really do empathy, not just talk about it, and not just demanding empathetic men for their own benefit. Now let's move on. It's normal for all of us to lean into our perspective at first, of course. It's normal for all of us to lean into our perspective at first, of course. So that scale, the perspective versus reality, that scale is, especially when you are in like a disagreement or conflict, the scale is tilted at first towards your perception. We're weighing our perception more heavily than the reality, because again, I can't help but to be myself in my own shoes. That's not a gendered issue. That's just a human issue. It's normal for all of us to lean into our own perspective at first. The issue is staying there and doubling down on it. Someone who continuously puts their experience on a pedestal is not someone who can be reasoned with, because they will not come to fair solutions. Again, I think this model is so important because it hits such a big issue, where in conflict, what the scales are too tilted. Either one or both people are weighing their perception way too heavily, and they're not able to see reality to the extent that they need to see it in order to come to a more holistic perspective, fair solutions, and solutions that are mutually satisfying. So satisfying for both people. We'll talk more about how to balance the scales as time goes on. And y'all, if you want more content to help you with this, I need the time to make it. Supporting this channel really helps with this, y'all. So, quick little note: likes matter, they do matter. Comments matter, not just fire emojis, although those are cool, but not just fire emojis, really a thoughtful comment. It really matters in the algorithm. So, try going for 2 or 3 sentences if you can. Share the video. Don't worry about if they watch it or not. Share the video, because even if someone doesn't watch it, sharing does help. Also, y'all, I have a Cash App link. Yes, I'm bringing back the Cash App link. Yes, if this work is doing something for you, you can donate using the link in the description of my episode, or you can find the link in the description of the channel. Y'all, I spend a lot of time editing videos, and now I have to hire an editor so that I'm able to do more videos, and your support of this channel really helps with that. So thank you in advance, and thank you to everyone who has been so supportive up to this point. Now let's get into the SER framework and connect it back to the 9 models I've shared with you so far. The SER framework is essentially my theory that if individuals had high levels of self-esteem, energy, and responsibility, that's the SER, then they would be highly attractive matches. My attractive match theory. They would stand out in the dating pool, have better options, and have better experiences with the person they choose. We've talked about the communication model, the energy matrix, the ability willingness matrix, the CCC model, the authentic self versus image model, time cost model, the masculine feminine model, that's the Venn diagram, the chicken and egg model, and now the perception reality model, which is a visual metaphor. So let's tie it all together. When you communicate assertively, not avoiding or aggressive, we see this in the passive aggressive communication model. When you maintain good and positive energy and recover when you fall out of it, we use the energy matrix for this. When you maintain a willingness to change and commit to being equipped to making whatever changes you need to make for the outcomes you want. Okay, we use the ability willingness model to gauge this. When you can accurately diagnose the root of a problem using the CCC model, you want to accurately diagnose it so that you apply the resources in the right place to solve the problem. When you show up as your real self and not a fake and masked version of yourself, that's the authentic self versus the image model. When your masculine and feminine energy is harnessed and intentionally recalibrated when it gets out of balance, we use the masculine and feminine model to get an idea of that. When you confront issues on the front end instead of trying to scramble on the back end, look at the time cost model for that. When you're willing to suspend your perception for long enough to ground in reality, we use the perception reality model that we talked about today to understand that concept. Then, when you do those things, then you're someone who is highly responsible because you're taking responsibility for the impact you're having on your dynamic. Before you're even in a relationship, you are maintaining awareness of how you're showing up in the world and not blaming others for it. You're doing what you need to do to be a good person all on your own. You're responsible. You're someone with high energy. You're empowered and not being dragged by circumstances or other people, regardless of what others are doing or what's going on around you. You are controlling what you can and positively affecting your energy, keeping it up and forward as best as possible. You're someone with high self esteem. You see yourself as worthy of having a good, great, and excellent life experience, and you're willing to do the work to get it. You know you can, and so you do. You're a great option as a partner, and you're a great individual, someone others want on their team, someone others can trust, someone others see as safe because you've got a hold of yourself. And you're able to take the perspective of others, considering them and behaving healthfully towards them. Pro-social, behaving healthfully towards them because it's in you first. I hope that helps you to see how SER is related to all these models and other ones that I'll roll out for you to help you evaluate yourself, evaluate your relationships, and do the work, actually do the work to become better and get the better relationships for you. So thanks for listening to this breakdown today, y'all. Like the video, share, comment, and subscribe if you have not already. Let's build the channel and get to 10K. Let's get to 10,000 by the end of the year. I'll be adding models to the model library as they become relevant. I also want to include these models in some reaction videos going forward so you can see how to use them and how to gauge things that are going on in your life or in your relationships. If you haven't seen the video of me breaking down the other 8 models, you'll see it pop up as a suggestion at the end of this video, and I will link it in the description. If you're listening on audio, like on Apple or Spotify, shout out to y'all. I will put the podcast links in your description. Okay. And if you are listening on Apple or Spotify, please take the time to leave a review, hit those stars and leave a review for me. It's super helpful. And if you're listening on YouTube, pop over to Apple sometime and leave a review if you're liking the content. It really, really helps me and these channels. Anyone can download the link to the model library document where you can read about these models. The document is totally free for you to download. Y'all, that's it. I'm Taylor Chandler, licensed marriage and family therapist and personal development coach, helping you change for the better. And if you don't want to change, I wish you the best. Bye, y'all.